You're up. Welcome. Probably like you're all a bit bored, locked down, sitting here, thinking of saw a video from George Benson done a top tier list of current Chelsea season, rating players and ever done so far. Obviously, with the Premier League coming back in just a few weeks now. So just thought something to do, something to whack on YouTube or do something very similar. As you know, the hair's a bit of a state. But whose isn't during this time unless you live with a barber, then you're lucky, eh? But I just thought something to do, whack it up and in my head just go through it. There won't be no fancy edits or shit like that because quite frankly I don't know how to do it. So yeah, we'll go through it. So yeah, like I said, took it from George Benson's YouTube channel. So the tiers that we'll go through, we'll go bottom tier, I think we should sell them, not really in the plans of Frank Lampard. Tier above that, underwhelming, expected better from them from the minutes they've played this year. Above that, exceeded expectations. From the start of the season, you wouldn't have expected them to play as good as they have done in the minutes that they've been given. So there's a few that come to mind as soon as I say that. Second one, a key player, someone who's a regular in the team, who we struggle without them. You know, very good player, quite important to Frank Lampard's plans going forward. And then number one is your elite, our best players this season, or best player in the squad. Obviously, depending on the current situation, but yeah. So obviously, before the season we were in fourth Champions League places. A lot of new faces in this Chelsea team, a lot different to what we used to. A lot of youth, a lot of English talent, all coming through all at once. Which, like I said, we've had Terry, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, few ones. I know Christensen counts as a graduate player, but in terms of English talent, the proper last one was John Terry. So to see so many come forward this season is very, very good in terms of what is considering our actual talent in the academy. It is about time, and wouldn't have with Frank Lampard doing it, I'm glad he's the manager that is doing it. We had to go through them. Start off the goalkeeper, just listening off the top of my head. Willy Caballero, so we'll start off with. Obviously, gets a few cups minutes here and there, and then I think about the February time, the Leicester game, the Tottenham game comes to mind, where he's come in and he's had to do a job because Kepa Arrizabalaga has been dropped, and he's come in. He's I believe 38 years old now, and you don't expect your second choice goalkeeper to be as good as your first, but he kept Kepa out for a few games. He'd done that, trying to force a reaction from the Spaniard, and I think he exceeded expectations. I think maybe fault for that Ben Chilwell goal that comes to mind at Leicester, at the King Power, that does come to mind. But other than that, for his age, as second choice keepers go, and I think we can have a couple more years out of good old Willie. Obviously the main keeper, Kepa. For me, I know we had that FA Cup game against Liverpool just before he all went, and then obviously the clean sheet against Everton in the 4-0. For me, he's not to the quality we need if we want to be challenging titles. I think he's not tall enough for a keeper. He doesn't come and claim. He doesn't film with confidence when the defence have the ball or when the ball comes into our box. He does have the occasional flash of brilliance, like in the Super Cup against Liverpool. But for me, he's not a keeper I want around. I think there's definitely other keepers out there who would be definitely better suited. I know I quite like Dean Henderson from Sheffield United. It might be a bit difficult to get him off Man United because obviously he's on loan to Sheffield. But for me, no, I'd say get rid of Kepa. I'd take the loss. Fortunately, it didn't work. Yeah, for me, I'd get rid. So we'll move on to the left back position. Emerson, first one. I think we got, as Chelsea fans, sold the dream a bit on Emerson. I think in a back four, obviously Alonso is not as good as a left back as he is a left wing back. Left wing back, different gravy. He's a world-class left wing back for me. Left back he isn't. So we just wanted someone to come in, and Emerson was that person. had a good performance in Baku against Arsenal. But again, this season, is he underwhelming? He has been an underwhelming performer, but for me, he wouldn't get in that category. For me, I need to get rid. I think with the names coming to get the Tagliafico, the Alex Telles, or even Ben Chilwell, who I've already mentioned, I would get rid of Emerson. I think I've heard Juventus are interested, so why not? I mean, get a bit of money for him, up our transfer kit a bit as well. Decent player. Is he going to be a left back in which makes you change for them titles? A bit like Kepa as a keeper? For me, no. So obviously, sick of left backs, Marcos Alonso. And I think with Marcos Alonso, he's very divided in the Chelsea community. Personally, I like him. I think as a left wing back, you can't fault him. He has that left centre back to cover. He's also got an eye for. I think he ain't half got an eye for a goal. His free kicks are phenomenal. I think when you get him on that left foot, it is an absolute thunderbolt. Like when he wants to hit it, for me, can be an important squad member. His versatility in terms of Frank's formations. If he wants a free back, he'd go with Alonso at left wing back. For me, we keep him. And for me, recently, obviously he got the winner against Newcastle. He loves a goal against Tottenham. He's exceeded expectations for this season because I think we all thought Emerson would stick, and he hasn't. Obviously, he got the red card against Bayern as well, Alonso, but for me, he stays. And for me, he's exceeded expectations in terms of which tier I'd put him in. So moving across to centre-backs, Kurt Zouma. So Zouma is one of them. I think everyone knows about the knee injury he obtained a few years back when he was in that partnership with John Terry. He can be strong, can be fast, but a bit clumsy at times, Kurt Zouma. I think in terms of our best centre-back pairing, I think he does get in there. He's still young. I said he has that aerial dominance about him, which he can tap into. He has the strength, he has the power. For me, exceeded expectations. I think he had that prolonged run in the side. He's got it back. I think on his day, very, very good defender. If you can iron out them mistakes, yeah, again, I think we've got ourselves a really good defender. I'd still personally go for a defender in the summer. I think we need that big centre-back with experience. To me, would partner Tomori. But yeah, for Zouma, he's in that exceeded expectations category. Not underwhelming. He is coming back from that loan spell with Everton, a successful loan spell. But yeah, I'd keep him. I think moving on to next, Rudiger. Rudiger, similar to Emerson, was almost sold a dream a bit. I think when it was at the start of the season, when we had Zouma, Tomori, Christensen, it was like, Rudiger's going to come back. Rudiger's going to come back and he's going to solve our defensive issues. And he didn't. And a bit like Zouma, he can be clumsy. But you can have his on day. But in terms of how the Chelsea fan base regards Zouma, I would put him in the underwhelming category. I wouldn't get rid of him. But no, I think a bit underwhelming from Kurt Zouma. Yeah, not Kurt Zouma, sorry, Rudiger, yeah. Moving on, Christensen. For me, a bit like Kepa, I don't think his build is suited to the Premier League. Once again, intelligent, yes. Does he have a good eye for a pass? Yes. Does he get bullied? Yes. I think the game against Everton comes to mind with Calvert-Lewin. It was Christensen, Zouma, and Calvert-Lewin bullied them. We got absolutely, I wouldn't say destroyed, but we deserved to lose, and it just didn't work. I think that was a mistake from Frank to put them two together. For me, Christensen, I know he's highly regarded, but I'd actually get rid. I think I don't think he's in there. I mean, a lot of other Chelsea fans think differently. I think with Kepa as well, which might be an unpopular opinion of mine. But in terms of centre-backs, I'd get rid of Christensen and bring in a more experienced one for the other three. And the other three, who's Fikayo Tomori, was he come on bursting the scene with that wonder goal against Wolves. Absolute thunderbolt out of nowhere. No one saw it coming. I think it surprised Patricio quite a bit with how it went, because his dive was a bit weird. But no, for me, Tomori, he's exceeded expectations. I think he come off of a loan spell of Derby County. Obviously has the added benefit of Frank Lampard knowing I'm Jody Morris, knowing his play style, knowing how they work together, they're used to each other. But no, for me, I think he has exceeded. He's one of these young English talents, so I'm excited to see. Rapid as well, absolutely. Like, he's quick, and yeah, I think we'll see a lot more tomorrow in the future. At least I hope so. Anyway, so then we go on to the right back position, and Azpilicueta. I mean, what can you say about Azpi? He works hard. He's one of those. He's a manager's dream. He's 7, 8 out of 10 every single game. He's brilliant, and I think if you want anyone for Reece James to learn off, you want Cesar Azpilicueta. I think he's been with us since 2013 for like 7 million from Marseille. Absolute bargain, and for me, he's definitely a key player. I think he just goes into that key player category. Is he elite? There's better players in his position, but he's like your James Milner from Liverpool. You want that type of player in your squad. You know what you're getting with Azpilicueta, and I think he's one of them players. And I think Reece James will benefit a lot from Cesar Azpilicueta. So then going on to it, he's Reece James. I think in terms of crossing, wow, he absolutely puts on a plate, and I think you're seeing Trent numbers with the amount of assists he's getting. Given the right striker, the right finishing boots, he will get the same as well. For me, yeah, exceeded expectations. I think he's sort of highly anyway after his loan spell with Wigan. But no, it's definitely one for future, and hopefully he'll be our right back for the next decade. I mean, we've been blessed with like Ivanovic, Azpilicueta, and Reece James, but quality player. Hopefully, peeps Trent and Wan-Bissaka to the England call up, because it'd be lovely to see him in an England shirt. So if we go on to our midfielders now, like I said, reeling them off my head, so I might forget one or two players here or there. But if we go in, we'll start from that like deep line midfielder, and we'll go with Jorginho. Again, Jorginho's one of them. He's not everyone's cup of tea. He can dictate a game. He sits in that register role, which everyone, of course, began to know due to his first season with us. I think he likes to dictate, he likes to use short passes, but he also has an eye for a pass, especially with the Abraham goal against Watford, which one of my favourites this season because the pass was sublime from Jorginho. But I saw some rumours about Pjanic from Juve with a swap deal. Not so sure about how I feel of that, because in terms of the dressing room, Jorginho seems like a very popular figure. A bit like what David Luiz was, but obviously David Luiz can get a bit with the managers, and if he doesn't get his own way, Jorginho seems a bit different. He seems a bit key to that dressing room. In terms of expectations, you kind of know what you're expecting. He does get dual pass quite a lot, and he breaks down the play in terms of stopping him, so I get so many yellow cards. But he can be important, Jorginho, especially with Kante's injuries. So yeah, he's definitely a part of the future in terms of, has he exceeded expectations? No. Has he been underwhelming? I think no. Like I said, you get what you indicate with Jorginho. So in terms of, is he a key player? For me, he is a key player at the moment. I think if you're having a Chelsea XI, I think he probably goes in there at the moment in terms of what he offers to the team. I think the next one, I think we'll go Billy Gilmour. And I think we all saw what Billy Gilmour was capable of against Liverpool and Everton. 2 man of the match performances, and he dominated. 18 years old Scotsman. He dominated. He was absolutely brilliant. You cannot fault him. Obviously, like I said at the start, you'd think, we go straight to elite. That's only 2 games. He has only played minimal minutes, so he does exceed expectations. I think everyone, once again, it's a high youngster from Chelsea Academy. You expected high, but I don't think you expected that kind of performance. He played Fabinho off the pitch. Everton couldn't get near him in your Premier League debut in a 4-0 win at home. Quality. And I think, he does exceed expectations, Billy Gilmour. And hopefully we do see more of him, especially with how we can, I believe we have 6 substitutes, is it? So, I'll see more of Billy Gilmour, which I'm sure we will do. So, next one on the list, we'll go Ross Barkley. Personally, I'm not a fan of Ross. I think if he wasn't English, I think he'd be gone from the team. he's there for the homegrown numbers, isn't he? Obviously, he scored that brilliant goal against Liverpool in the FA Cup. That drive, the shot from outside the box, Adrian had no chance. And he can be a good player. We saw it with England. He always seems to pop up with a goal or two on international duty. Southgate likes him, to be fair. Frank Lampard does like him as well. He does have potential, Ross Barkley. We've gone through this before. Potential doesn't get you trophies. You need now for the trophies. It is what it is. And I think in terms of midfield, we're quite stacked in on-field position. We're quite good in midfield. I don't think Barkley gets into that midfield, and I think he's in that get-rid pile, unfortunately, for Ross. On his day, could be very well. Other days, he plays a bit like a donkey. Touches heavy, passes are short. Doesn't really know where he's doing or what he's doing with the ball. So, unfortunately for Ross, I think it's over for him at Chelsea. Well, it would be if I was there, but obviously I'm not. But yeah, moving on. We'll give Mason Mount, and I'm a massive fan of Mount. I think he gets a lot of stick from Chelsea fans. I think him as a player is quite essential to Frank Lampard's playing style. I think in terms of the press, he's always the first one there. He'll always give 100%, Mason. Does have an eye for a goal. Can have an assist. He got 2 assists against Leicester for Rudiger's goals. So I think he gets a lot of stick, and I think he has exceeded expectations this season, Mason Mount. And I think he is only going to get better. I think with Frank Lampard as manager, he's got the right manager for him, and I hope to see Mason play a lot more in a Chelsea shirt and get more goals, get more assists, and I hope to see him here for the next 10 years like Reece James, like Fikayo Tomori. We've got foundation. I think Mason Mount can be a part of that. Moving on, next one, Mateo Kovacic, elite player. He's been our player this season so far, Mateo Kovacic. I think a lot of people's 50-50 on whether to sign him or not after his loan. Obviously, his loan to option to buy as well. We could sign him the transfer ban. I think a lot of Chelsea fans are a bit iffy. I think they thought we just took it because we couldn't sign anyone else. But this season, Kovacic, he just glides the ball. He sticks to his foot. If he adds goals to his game, then the league is in trouble. I'll tell you that now. But Mateo Kovacic, what a player! He goes into elite. I think everyone knows that. Next one, N'Golo Kante, and it's been a difficult one for Kante this season because he's been injured for most of it, and it doesn't look like we'll potentially be seeing him the rest of the season either with the COVID concerns. And when he has kind of played, you kind of tell something's off. He did have that brilliant Super Cup game against Liverpool, and solely because I know it's meant to be based off this season, he is elite. Kante, like he's our not superstar, but one of the players we can claim he's one of the best in these positions. Hopefully we see him more in his own position. I doubt it with the way Frank Lampard plays, sets his team. But he is an elite player in N'Golo Kante. I wouldn't sell him because why sell the best players? You wouldn't see Barcelona selling Sergio Busquets or... Yeah, you wouldn't see Real Madrid selling Casemiro, Man City selling Kevin De Bruyne. I know it's different types of midfield, but N'Golo Kante is one of the world's best. He's a World Cup winner, twice Premier League winner with 2 different teams in 2 consecutive years. He's an elite player, and I think he deserves to stay. So next, I think we'll go on to the wingers. I think Christian Pulisic, and obviously another one of those where he came in during the transfer ban because we were able to sign him in January. Got the hat-trick at Burnley, obviously a very good game for him, a perfect hat-trick as well if my memory serves right. Also got a bit injured, a bit left out because he was getting used to it. Has he exceeded expectations? No, I wouldn't say he has. I wouldn't even say he's a key worker. For me, a tad underwhelming. I think maybe harsh, probably the harshest one on this list. But I think in terms, he doesn't exceed expectations of what he's delivered so far. I think you expect a few more goals, a few more assists, a few more influence in the game. And I think we'll see a lot more from Pulisic next season. I think he'll do a lot better. But yeah, at the moment, a bit underwhelming from Christian, but obviously he's very young, very harsh on for myself. If there's a more of a middle ground, like good or average type thing, I think he'd definitely fit in there. Next one, Callum Hudson-Odoi. Likewise, obviously he's just come back from this injury. I think he was Achilles injury, right, or ruptured. Yeah, but he was out for a few months. He's come back. It's a bad injury for a young player. Well, it's a bad injury for any player. Meant to be this generational talent. Obviously, this whole thing with Bayern Munich wanting him to be there, Jadon Sancho. Hopefully, he will be our Jadon Sancho, and I do expect more from him. But for this season, definitely a bit underwhelming from Callum. But like I said, it could be one of them where he's with us for 10 years. So we'll see where Callum is concerned. But no, we definitely carry on. Pedro. Pedro's very hot or cold. You don't know what you're going to expect. He'll pop up with a goal or just runs around with the ball like a headless chicken in his own penalty area. You don't know with Pedro, but he's won it all in the game. I think when you think he's on his last legs and then he comes up with a goal or two. So I think in that case it'd be very harsh but underwhelming because you don't expect much from him. Like 32-year-old Pedro. So I think he does go into the exceeded expectations category, a bit like Marcus Alonso. So didn't expect much, and he's come up with the trumps again. So fair to say, I know it's his last season with Chelsea, and I definitely do thank him for what he's done for the club. So next is Willian, another one that definitely divides opinions with the Chelsea fan base, and it won't shock you. Just like Alonso, I'm quite a fan of Willian. I think on his day, he can have moments of brilliance, moments of that Brazilian brilliance. And this season, I think he's been that experience that Frank Lampard has probably needed. And you can see why he probably wants a few more years because I think he knows Frank Lampard needs that experience around with these youngsters coming through. It's a bit the same. He hasn't underwhelmed. He hasn't exceeded. Would you say he's a key player in the team? You probably would. I think he just sneaks into that category. Not because of his consistently amazing and he chalks up numbers like your Mane's, like your Salah's, or your Mahrez, your Sterling. But he's a key player in Frank Lampard's team, and I'd expect him to be the same in next season and maybe even the next after that. Yeah, so I feel like that's all the midfielders and wingers, unless I'm missing someone very obvious. But we shall move on. It's getting quite a long video of me just talking into a camera. On to our striking options, I think. First one, Michy Batshuayi. He's come up with quite a few big goals for this club. Obviously, the West Brom goal, Atletico Madrid goal, Ajax goal. He had that. I mean, the one we didn't win the game against Man United in the Carabao Cup, but his goal was something Michy can do. He can score goals out of anything. He can score goals out of anywhere. But yeah, it's something Michy does have in his locker, and something he can do. But we don't see it often enough at Chelsea. And I think, and I come to this argument again: if we want to win trophies, we need more consistency. We need your Timo Werner type player. And Michy Batshuayi, unfortunately, with our other two striking options, doesn't have a place at the club. And for me, he would be in the sold pile would be to get rid of. But not to say I wouldn't miss him. He's got quite a character and he has scored huge goals for the club. So yeah, on to the next one, Olivier Giroud. Again, Olivier Giroud, he just you think he's out, you think he hasn't played at all, and then he comes back into the fold, and I think he's a World Cup winner for a reason. He might not have scored at the World Cup, but you don't play all 7 games and win the World Cup if with a striker that isn't any good. I think his hold-up play is second to none. Well, probably he's second to none, I think, in terms of his little flicks, little passes around the corner, the link-up play, aerial, bringing it down, or even attacking sense of providing threat, especially if you can have wingers like Reece James crossing them in. It's like, I think he's exceeded expectations again, Olivier Giroud. I know he was our Thursday night Cristiano Ronaldo last season, but with the emergence of Tammy, you didn't expect Giroud to play much. He hasn't, he has come back in with his chance, and he has took his chance, and I think he has exceeded it. Olivier Giroud, and I'm delighted that he has signed an extra deal because he's definitely someone who we can rely on. And obviously, the last one is Tammy Abraham. Another youngster where it was a question marks over it. So yeah, fine, he's done it in the Championship, but can he do it in the Premier League? Dwight Gale can do it in the Championship, he can't do it in the Premier League. Something like that. He's done it Bristol City, he's done it Aston Villa. I think in terms of your first proper Premier League season, I know he had the stint at Swansea, but your first one at a big club when you're a big club's number 9, I think he's exceeded expectations. I think if I remember right, it's 13 league goals for Tammy this year. Very good in terms of his age, the service, what you expected in terms of, I think if you said Tammy Abraham double figures, I think you'd take it. The hat-trick at Wolves, brilliant. And I think he's definitely exceeded it. I think if he can get a few more as well towards the end of the season, it's a successful season for Tammy, definitely. And I think a bit of competition for him will do him good. He won't do him any harm. So those are all the players, and obviously Frank Lampard himself. I think in terms of he's got his dream job very early. This is only his second year in the managerial role. I think in terms of he's given us some big wins. The away at Arsenal, the away at Tottenham, the away at Ajax. I think he's given both Man City and Liverpool a run for their money. I think in terms of Frank Lampard, he has exceeded expectations. I think people wrote Chelsea off. Said you've got all these youngsters, you've lost Eden Hazard, you're finishing mid-table, you're a mid-table team. He's took us to 4th. We've knocked out Liverpool in the FA Cup, like I've already said. We're in the Champions League at the moment, obviously Bayern one of the best teams in Europe at the moment, so we'll be exiting that very soon. But he did get us out of a hard Champions League group. I think in terms of how first seasons go, under the circumstances, Frank Lampard has done a very good job. I think there's a bit of tactical naivety, but that will come with him managing more games in the Premier League. I think our home form needs to improve, definitely. But Frank Lampard has exceeded expectations, and I, for one, love the fact that our greatest ever player and my favourite ever player is our manager. And long may it continue. And I'd love an FA Cup win, and to just install that winning mentality into the club or into the players, current crop. Watch all them youngsters come through. But yeah, that was what was my tier list. Bit bored, thought I'd whack one together. If anyone does watch it, like to let me know what you think or what I've done wrong. Probably get a bit of abuse for the Kepa one, but we move forward. Thanks for watching, and in a bit.